Eva? The translators thingies. Les trucs de 30. Okay, hello, hi. Welcome. I'm gonna go straight to English tonight, especially because I want to make sure everybody gets the technique. And I'm doing those signs, but because you guys are all gonna get translation devices. Vamos distribuir os, não sei como dizer em português, aquela coisa aparelhos de tradução. Temos lá no fundo os tradutores. Obrigada. Sim. Yes. Ok, boa noite mais uma vez. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to that second session of the International Conference of Maputo Fast Forward 2022 for its 7th edition. The theme, Free Radicals, Dissent and Activism, is a metaphor to the chemical elements, and I will let you find out more tonight. We have our the pleasure of participating together in the session Queer in Africa tonight. And I will let our moderator, Eliana N'Zualo, present the participants. I will not take that part. And they will offer us African
Thank you very much. Muito obrigada. Obrigada a todos pela presença. O meu nome é Eliana N'Zualo e eu quero perguntar se alguém aqui precisa de assistência com aparelho de tradução. Nós temos aqui a nossa equipa de produção que terá todo o gosto e disponibilidade em ajudar. Temos alguns oradores que vão falar em inglês e por isso é importante que quem não percebe inglês tenha então aparelho de tradução para poder acompanhar a discussão. Pode haver também alguém na plateia que coloque uma questão em inglês, por exemplo, né? Então, só para garantir que todos aqueles que precisam do aparelho tenham, e quem não tem é só levantar a mão, a equipa de produção irá ajudar. Como eu disse, O meu nome é Eliana N'Zualo. Eu estou aqui apenas como moderadora. Eu sou quase um ser invisível, mas estou aqui com muito gosto em poder participar e dar então aqueles que são os nossos oradores. Vou fazer estas apresentações, introduções em inglês, porque é também para eles poderem acompanhar e entender. Francisco Miguel holds a PhD in Social Anthropology from the University of Brasilia. Miguel has been doing historical and ethnographic research on Africa LGBT movement for 10 years, particularly in Lusophone contexts on the continent. He has been a UNESCO consultant and is currently a recipient of the Colin Murray Award for Postdoctoral Research in Southern Africa 2020 and a FAPESH Postdoctoral Fellow, working professionally at Queen's University in Canada and Unicamp in Brazil. Alex, that's sitting right here with us, was born in 1982 in Beirut, Lebanon. In 2000, he moved to Paris to pursue his interest in dance. He graduated from the University of Paris 8 with a degree in theater and dance. He was trained with various women dance icons in the Arab world. His research, art practice, and pedagogy revolves around creating spaces of reflection on Baladi dance, commonly known as belly dancing. He performs in spaces ranging from underground parties to theater festivals and museums. Finally, Thuli Mjwara, who is a human rights practitioner at Inclusive and Affirming Ministries, working in the Community Partnerships Program. She identifies as a queer Pan-African feminist and is based in Western Cape, South Africa. She holds a postgraduate degree in Gender and Transformation from the University of Cape Town. With over 10 years experience, she has worked with a range of marginalized communities, varying from youth at risk, sentenced offenders, LGBTIQ persons, and civil society organizations. Nokutula is passionate in advocating for the equality of all persons and the eradication of gender-based violence. Eu então vou começar, desculpem, mais uma vez vou repetir que teremos tradução em simultâneo e quem precisar do aparelho pode solicitar a nossa equipa de produção, vejo que há novas pessoas na sala, então quero convidar essas pessoas a levantar a mão caso precisem de assistência com a tradução. Vou agora passar a palavra, porque como eu disse, o meu papel aqui é quase invisível, então vou convidar Thuli, a nossa primeira convidada, a falar um pouco da sua experiência na África do Sul. Thuli, we are ready to hear you. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I thought I was going to go second. So my name is Thuli, full name Thuli Mjwara. I work in Western Cape, South Africa. Please just let me know if you're able to see my presentation.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. So I work for an organization called Inclusive and Affirming Ministries. We are a non-profit organization that's been around for 27 years. We work with churches, we work with the church as an institution, we work with theologians, seminarian students, we work with the community. So we work on different levels. But today's conversation what I bring into the space is just a reflection on our faith-based LGBTI advocacy in Africa, and looking at the different creative methodologies that we could use in addressing the criminalization of identities and conversion practices in Africa. So I have a quote there by Musaya Gunda, where they state, the greatest obstacle to the full acceptance of LGBTI people in Southern Africa is religiously sanctioned homophobia. So research has shown, and we've seen, what's been happening in different camps, such as Kukuma camp, what's happening in Zambia, where religion, and specifically Christianity, and the Bible has been used as a way of inciting homophobia, as a way of excluding people who are gender and sexually diverse. And what Inclusive and Affirming Ministry does is that we work toward this full recognition, celebration, and participation of LGBTIQ+ people in faith communities across Africa. So when I speak about full recognition and celebration, often we ask ourselves, who have we excluded today? That we do in terms of our planning, in terms of our work. Previously, we used to do a lot of work from the binary of just lesbian and gay, but recently we've really invested in transgender, intersex theologians, in finding scriptures that are affirming, scriptures that are celebratory, and creating an alternative narrative when it comes to Christianity and the Bible. In terms of our theory of change, we seek to open minds through raising awareness. So here we see different engagements. So this is like anti-bias training. This is human sexuality diversity training. So we believe that if we open minds, people are able to open their hearts. And open hearts looks like creating safe spaces for dialogue encounters, safe spaces where people can ask honest, and we have honest and authentic conversations around human sexuality, around cis heteronormative patriarchal societies, and how there's a hierarchy in terms of whose life matters, who's left out, and who accesses what within our communities. And what we are ultimately working to is opening doors, that those who now have opened their minds, have opened their hearts, are able to open their doors to welcome, to accept, to celebrate, and to affirm LGBTQI persons. In terms of our programs, and I'm just going to speak particularly to the programs, we work a lot in community, so we collaborate with partners in Southern, East, and West Africa, working at the intersection of gender, health, and religion to achieve this vision. We have two core programmatic areas. So one is faith partnerships, and the other one is community partnerships. As you can see, I've just listed some of the countries that we currently have a footprint in. So in Botswana, we're working with the Christian Council and also the civil society organizations there and activists. Ghana, Kenya, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Another quote from Masai is, attitudes at the grassroots, especially inside the most homophobic churches, can only be changed through the work of activists and allies who are known and respected within local communities and congregations. So that quote for me just highlights the fact that change can happen, transformation can only happen in partnership, and there's a need that we work together in achieving that. There's a call for allies, not in that allies being a voice for the voiceless, but allies that are visible, that are vocal, but also working with an embodiedness of LGBTI lives. So don't tell our stories, but give us the platform so we are able to share our own stories and being. One of the biggest things for myself in being part of this organization is addressing scripture being used as a tool for oppression. Here we use different resources So as I said, anti-bias trainings, diversity awareness training, transformative dialogue trainings. Our publications or resources are available on our website, free to download. So as you can see there, we did research around comprehensive sexuality education in terms of, is faith being a stumbling block for schools to introduce comprehensive sexuality education? We have a toolkit called The Bible and Homosexuality, which is based on our processes of engagement in community in terms of how can we read the Bible together and we'll answer the questions in terms of what does the Bible actually say about homosexuality. We have transforming accompaniment. So a lot of our work is around relationship building and also maintaining that. So it's what we call accompaniment. So often partners that we worked with, we have a long-standing relationship with. Another process that we have is called reading together. And this is a Bible study method. So we've documented a method that you can use in reading the Bible in community and sort of analyzing together, analyzing the scriptures that have often been used as clobber texts. So they have been used against the recognition and celebration of LGBTQI lives. We've used this process with Genesis 1 and 2. We've used this process with Leviticus texts. We've used this process with the Sodom and Gomorrah story. So it's a process that has been tested, that has been developed and reworked in community. And I think that's what I really want to highlight. A lot of our processes are in collaboration with community. And another one we have there is the Bible and Homosexuality, which is a tool that was developed. It's a resource booklet that was developed by a minister in giving more contextual understanding. So often, people understand the Bible from what they are being told by their pastor or their minister, and people don't go home and actually question in terms of where does the scripture come from. Often people take that interpretation as if it's, that's it, God has said this, without understanding that some of the scriptural writings happened within a certain context. It happened, at a particular time. So there's the word, there's the Bible, the word before the Bible, and the word after. So what does it mean for us who are living now? Other toolkits that are available for trainings is best practices in training clergy and other religious leaders. So here, once again, we've documented our best practices that we've learned over the 27 years of working with churches, denominational churches, ministers, and communities. You can connect with us on Instagram. We're available on Twitter. And also you can just send us an email. I hope I'm within like 10 minutes and I look forward to the engagement. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Thuli. Muito obrigada, Thuli, por esta introdução ao teu trabalho enquanto ativista, enquanto defensora dos direitos humanos também. Eu vou passar agora a palavra ao Alex. Espero que estejam a apontar perguntas, vamos ter tempo depois para interagir mais. Vou passar a palavra ao Alex para partilhar um pouco da sua abordagem. You already know everything that I will say. Alex, please.
Boa noite. This is the last words in Portuguese. Good evening. I'm honored to be with you. I'm not gonna speak about my experience, but I would love to propose to you to think together about the state of things post-colonial societies with queerness, because I come from Lebanon. It's not in Africa and it's queer in Africa, so I want to be at least relatable. So I come from a region where the term queer or homosexuality didn't exist to start. And queer is a word that the American LGBT plus community reappropriated. Was an insult, and they reappropriated it to say, okay, we are queer. And this is, for me, an act of defiance, the first act of defiance for a society that rejects you. And it's important for me, this defiance, because we are, a lot of times we are pushed to silence because of religious matters, because of social peace, or because of I don't know what. No, it's not. Shut up. Not. Don't be very vocal. So the defiance is important for me. But this said, I come from a society that didn't have a word for homosexuality. Arrived colonial powers, and they penalized it. And from that moment on, I think it's very interesting to see how things evolved, because there is a state of things now that we need to look at and understand. And if some societies have arrived to a certain degree of defiance, I'm talking about LGBT communities in certain parts of this part of the world, it might be interesting to see where we are. For example, when we started to be under the penal code and responsible for 1 year to 3 years imprisonment just because of our nature. This is beyond, I won't say unacceptable, because it is, but we, from our youth, we are used to accept that we are either sick, or we have an issue, or there is really a problem with us. Till the moment we decide to either come out or defy. For example, when we see in Morocco, for example, there are a queer person walking in the street, 300 person would run after him and beat him. This, when a video like this passes on social media, we will find, oh, yes, clean up the society. 300 to 400 person following a transvestite to clean the street from people like him. I think it is about time we decide to show our colors without having to justify why we present our colors. The problem when we chose in Lebanon, for example, or in Egypt, but Egypt is a bigger story. I'm coming to Egypt in a bit. When we decided to start to at least organize ourselves in associations, two things happened. From the moment the penal code started to deal with cases of homosexuality, of people of homosexuality to be responsible penally, we became the weaker link, or le maillon faible, the weaker link in the society. And when a corrupt government that is totally inefficient and doesn't have any achievement whatsoever, either socially or at any level, they would crack down on LGBT plus community to make it as an example to their followers to see, look what we are doing. We are working for the sake of the society to make it a better place. We became really the target of governments, paramilitary group, and religious people. That I don't know what's the problem with religious people, but because what I understood from religion is that God is love. So if God is love, why won't he love me? Or why do you have an issue with me? Why do you think you have the right to circle houses, to preach and to bring people to religion? But if I am in a corner with some friends trying to have a talk, you would need to come beat us up and tell us you are sick and you have a problem. I don't know who has the problem. If I bother you, that Okay, I look at you, you bother me. Okay, no problem. Live your life. I continue. The moment you need to stop when you see me in the street, to spit on me, to beat me, to throw stones at me, to kill me, because it is a reality, I think you need to check yourself. It's you who have the problem. If we have a problem with society, we definitely dealt with it for so many years now. It's about time that society look at itself and see the issues that with years, surreal things became normative. But when we started to understand that there is an issue here and I cannot cancel myself because there is somebody else that has an issue with me. I have an issue with him, but I don't cancel him. From that moment, things started for us in my region, in Egypt, in the Northern Africa, because we link a lot and we do a lot of meetings. We started to have organization, but the government would impose a person on the board of the association in order to see from where the money is coming, how are you spending it, for what reasons. This is very dangerous. Why? Because, okay, it all began with we became penally responsible for who we are, because colonial powers came and thought that, oh, those barbarians, we need to educate them and tell them what's good, what's bad, what's nice, what's wrong, whatever. So here's our penal code, look at it, do the same and continue with your lives. Now, when we take money from Europeans nowadays, we become traitors to the country, because we are dealing with the external agenda. We are bringing an external agenda of European, whatever, first world countries that may give money, and it is firing back on us. Why I am saying all this? I'm saying all this to tell you how I long to build bridges, south-south bridges, in order to rethink without the colonial gaze that started everything, that started this inequality, citizenship inequality of people living in one country. This said, we have a serious issue being not even talked about. For example, in Egypt, they have disappearance of people for just bringing rainbow flag, raising a rainbow flag in a concert, in a music concert. Can you imagine with me? There's a Lebanese band that this example aches my heart for several reasons. I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to take a lot of time. It aches my heart because there's a Lebanese band called Mashrou' Layla that went to Egypt. It's a queer band that went to Egypt to do a concert. In the concert, in the public, somebody took a rainbow flag. Her name is Sarah Hijazi. This woman killed herself because she was arrested, tortured in prison, and scarred for life just for raising a flag in a concert. She wasn't doing anything. She raised a flag in a concert. When we arrive to points that in my country, where there's no water, no electricity, no medicine, no hospitals, nothing is working. Go Google Lebanon. I'm laughing because it's real. The government took how do we say this? He took, the Ministry of Interior took something, I don't know, a pamphlet, and canceling any queer representation, any talk, any meeting, any concert, any even how do we say this, films and cinema. If there is a kiss of an anime movie, there was one, I think part 2 of, I don't know what, cancelled. They brought this up and they cracked down on every organization, every meeting. And this band that presented in Egypt, that ended up being people being tortured, the band decided to cancel its presence and it doesn't exist anymore. All this said is not to tell you that we are victims, is to tell you that we see things. We know how we have been treated for years and years and years, but it is not enough to break us. It is not enough to cancel us, and it is more than time to link, to think together, and to try to find ways not to convince, but to continue with our existence, because it is to that point that our lives are in danger just because we are who we are. And if society doesn't rethink its visions, I think this is a sick society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alex. Muito obrigada. Espero que estejam a apontar muitas perguntas. Vamos ter tempo. Quero agora passar a palavra ao Francisco, que vai se juntar a nós via Zoom. Acredito que vai se apresentar em português. Francisco, podes falar.
Boa noite a todas e todos que estão aí em Maputo. Em primeiro lugar, eu gostaria de saudar a memória do Rui Trindade, que nos deixou e que foi o primeiro que me convidou a participar desse encontro. Também gostaria de agradecer a toda a equipe que tocou a organização do festival, particularmente Elodie, Maeva, Yara, Cafrine e Ana, com quem eu estive mais em contato. E saudar Thuli, Alex, Eliana, companheiros no debate de hoje. Eu estive em Maputo em fevereiro deste ano, e é uma honra e alegria poder, de alguma forma, retornar, ainda que de forma não presencial. Minha comunicação hoje, também vai lidar um pouco com esse assunto que o Alex trouxe, sobre o dilema da exogenia da homossexualidade em África, e quais os desafios disso para o movimento queer em África e em Moçambique em particular. Quando eu comecei minhas pesquisas sobre o tema da homossexualidade no continente africano, por volta de 2013, eu encontrei uma narrativa insistente de que a homossexualidade era uma prática ou uma identidade exógena, estrangeira ao continente africano. Isso era dito, inclusive, por vários dos meus interlocutores moçambicanos. Como o antropólogo ganês Kwaiwame Otu também observou, mesmo após diversos estudos arqueológicos, históricos, antropológicos, provando a existência da homossexualidade e da transexualidade em África antes dos colonialismos, a ideia de exogenia, de importação da homossexualidade do Ocidente para o continente africano, continua hoje em grande parte do senso comum africano. Mesmo os pesquisadores africanos e queer, como os colegas Zeto Matebene e Jabu Pereira, lamentam em um texto de 2014 não haver imagens suficientes de africanos transgressores de gênero e que essa falta de imagens restringiria nosso próprio pensamento e linguagem do que a gente vê como inconformidade de gênero. Até mesmo Ana Loforte, uma antropóloga moçambicana interessada em questões de gênero, disse em seu livro, publicado há 20 anos atrás, que não encontrou dados que pudessem apoiar a existência de homossexualidade feminina e masculina no bairro de Maputo, em que ela realizou a sua pesquisa. Assim, alguns pesquisadores vêm tentando explicar tanto o silêncio sobre essas identidades e práticas em África, que sempre existiram, quanto o discurso de exogenia da homossexualidade no continente. Alguns pesquisadores, como o zambiano Kapia Kaoma, apontam para a recente influência das igrejas protestantes dos Estados Unidos, que teriam chegado em África e reforçado essa percepção dos africanos. Outros pesquisadores, como o brasileiro Luiz Motti, por outro lado, demonstram que o discurso de que a homossexualidade não era africana, mas que teria vindo de fora, é bem mais antigo. Esse discurso remontaria ainda ao século XVIII, quando alguns viajantes europeus começaram a afirmar não terem encontrado tal prática no continente. Daí em diante, a importação das práticas homossexuais para a África teria sido atribuída a diversos estrangeiros, europeus e árabes. Mas quando a gente estuda a homossexualidade, mesmo na história da Europa, também é incomum encontrar antigas afirmações feitas pelos próprios europeus de que tal prática ou identidade teria sido trazida de fora para dentro da Europa. O pesquisador ítalo-argentino Daniel Borrillo afirma que na França, por exemplo, a homossexualidade já foi chamada como vício italiano, como vício grego, como costume árabe ou como colonial. No que diz respeito aos arquivos coloniais holandeses, a pesquisadora norte-americana Anne Stoller nos mostra o mesmo fenômeno. Para os colonizadores holandeses, a homossexualidade foi algo introduzido pelo catolicismo espanhol, enquanto para os próprios espanhóis foi uma coisa introduzida pelos mouros. Para um zimbabuano, entrevistado pelo historiador canadense Mark Epprecht, a homossexualidade foi algo que predominava entre os nativos do Malawi e de Moçambique. E enquanto no Moçambique socialista a homossexualidade era chamada de vício burguês, no Brasil, durante a ditadura civil-militar de direita, e nos Estados Unidos, durante o macartismo dos anos 80, também de direita, a homossexualidade foi considerada um ataque comunista aos valores cristãos ocidentais. Portanto, a ideia de que a homossexualidade veio de fora, como externa à própria cultura, como uma invenção perversa, não é nem um fenômeno novo, nem exclusivamente africano. Mas ainda há uma terceira elaboração sobre esse tema bastante interessante. Alguns pesquisadores confirmam tanto a influência do Ocidente nas novas formações conflituosas da homossexualidade em África, como apontou Kaoma, quanto as origens históricas e coloniais desses modernos pânicos morais no continente. No entanto, essa terceira elaboração levanta dúvidas sobre a universalidade da categoria homossexual e demonstra de forma mais cuidadosa de que o que havia em África era uma exogenia da identidade homossexual e não de suas práticas. Ou seja, que as práticas homoafetivas e homossexuais precedem o colonialismo e a identidade homossexual que ele trouxe. Pesquisadores particularmente ligados a essa tendência, como o professor ugandense Tuchabe Watuchabe, propuseram um debate que desestabiliza o atual arcabouço conceitual empregado no Ocidente para abordar essa questão. Segundo esses autores, há evidências de que na África existiram e existem formas indígenas de significar certas práticas que teriam sido erroneamente traduzidas pelos ocidentais como homossexuais. Tuchabe, ou Atuchabe, critica o movimento LGBT na África. Segundo este professor de Uganda, o ativismo LGBT em vários países do continente teriam seguido erroneamente a estratégia de apostar nas identidades contidas em sua sigla, LGBT, com base no que seria uma epistemologia do armário. Tuchabe argumenta que esse paradigma da epistemologia do armário, sendo importado do Ocidente, corrobora a atitude colonial quando é empregado para abordar as chamadas sexualidades queer em África. Uma epistemologia do armário, tal como elaborada e vivida no Ocidente, implica em acreditar em uma identidade sexual civilizada, a do homossexual, que é assumida em determinado momento da vida, na saída do armário, como se fosse um processo linear, autocivilizador, de um sujeito gay supostamente universal. Segundo Tuchabe, a identidade homossexual, em oposição à identidade heterossexual, foi uma ideia imposta pelos impérios coloniais, como disse o próprio Alex, e de uma forma já negativa, como crime, e que não corresponderia necessariamente às experiências indígenas queer africanas. Em um texto que eu gosto muito, Tuchabe nos conta o mito do bebê hindi, tal como foi contado a ele na infância pela sua própria avó. Esse mito parece ter inscrito o autor como uma subjetividade queer dentro de premissas não coloniais. Eu vou contar esse mito para vocês. Ebirindi são pessoas que transitam de uma forma de ser para outra. Na aldeia em que Tuxabe foi criado, havia uma árvore chamada Mucissa. O mito explica que, à noite, Ebirindi se reunia sob a Mucissa e fazia fogo, dançava e mudava de feminino para masculino, para metade feminino e metade masculino, e para um todo composto de 4 partes. Ao amanhecer, os Ebirindi invertem seu ser e se reintegram à sua comunidade. A ética do mito é que existem diferentes possibilidades de ser e que devemos respeitar a existência dessa diferença. Há também uma noção de que as pessoas sabem sobre isso e que isso não requer apontar o dedo ou discussão política ou pública. Tuxabe certamente tem um argumento poderoso para demonstrar que a homossexualidade existia nas culturas nativas africanas antes do colonialismo. Ele viveu isso em sua própria pele. Mas Tuxabe não consegue responder por quê. Afinal de contas, o chamado paradigma do armário, ou epistemologia do armário, tende a fazer sentido para tantos africanos hoje em dia. Ou por que o paradigma do armário teria proliferado, como ele mesmo afirma. Ou seja, não respondeu por quê e como faz sentido para tanta gente se pensar como gay, lésbica, como possuindo uma identidade sexual e de gênero dissidente, e que encontra no tal paradigma do armário uma explicação satisfatória para entender a si mesmo. Em outras palavras, por que as pessoas se sentem representadas pela ideia ocidental de que viveram e vivem no armário? E por que os movimentos LGBT prosperam de norte ao sul do continente? Apesar dele não responder essas perguntas, Tuxabe aponta para algo verdadeiro. O erro de tradução que ele aponta dos contextos, como demonstrado no mito do Ebirindi, teria consequências sociais e políticas no continente africano. Segundo o professor Merhak Mak, alguns especialistas têm argumentado que o imperativo de identificação imposto pelos agentes internacionais do movimento gay põe em perigo essas pessoas queer. A necessidade de se assumir gay, lésbico ou trans estaria colocando pessoas vulneráveis em maior risco. Ele vai além e afirma que antes das intervenções do movimento gay internacional e da globalização das categorias de identidade sexual, não haveria pânico moral desencadeado caças bruxas no continente africano, pelo menos não com a mesma intensidade. E isso não é uma conjectura, um prognóstico ou uma previsão. Isso, de fato, tem acontecido em alguns lugares. O entrevistado ganense do antropólogo Kwame Otu declarou certa vez, abre aspas, sempre que estou andando na cidade, claramente a maneira como ando revela minha afeminação. Eu não costumava ser chamado de nomes antes. Hoje em dia, com toda essa coisa gay acontecendo, todo mundo falando sobre gays, eu sempre sou vaiado. Na Namíbia, o antropólogo canadense Robert Lowry registrou o mesmo de um de seus interlocutores. Seu interlocutor disse a ele: tenho sido muito próximo dos homens ovambo, então eles sabiam que eu era gay. Mas depois dos discursos de ódio contra a homossexualidade do presidente da Namíbia, pude ver que eles estavam começando a se afastar de mim, se afastando lenta, mas seguramente. Muitos são meus primos, mas não querem ser vistos comigo, a sair na balada como costumavam fazer. A ideia de movimento gay internacional, no entanto, também tem suas fraquezas. Segundo Mack, restringir a visão das culturas sexuais locais no sul global em termos de contato antes e depois com o movimento gay internacional é problemático por 2 razões. Uma, porque romantiza uma era de ouro da tradição, da pureza, da autenticidade e isolamento de relações culturais que já eram misturadas. E, em segundo lugar, porque apresenta a globalização das categorias de identidade sexual, gay, lésbica, trans, como uma espécie de contágio, como uma doença. Essa utopia pré-colonial, então, marcada por uma suposta vida sexual tradicional, nas palavras de Lorway, é buscada tanto por tradicionalistas e conservadores africanos, que defendem como sexualidade exógena ao continente africano, quanto por aqueles que veem no período pré-colonial uma maior liberdade para as pessoas homossexuais. As pessoas LGBTQIA+, africanas, estão portando um impasse. Que impasse seria esse? Como Goltz e outros pesquisadores observaram no Quênia, enquanto os quenianos LGBTI podem achar os recursos simbólicos da cultura LGBTQ ocidental úteis ou adaptáveis na articulação de suas experiências e identidades, a invocação desses mesmos recursos fornece evidências para afirmações homofóbicas de que tais identidades e experiências não são africanas. Segundo o professor Gaurav Desai, a questão neste momento para a maioria dos estudiosos não é se as práticas sexuais alternativas indígenas existiram ou continuam a existir em África, mas sim como se entende seu surgimento histórico, as condições de possibilidades ou impossibilidades de formações identitárias a partir dessas práticas, e, em particular, a relação dessas identidades com as identidades raciais e nacionais. Me encaminhando já para o final, meu ponto é que se nas palavras de Chatal Zabus, uma cegueira epistêmica para as sexualidades marginais africanas foi verificada empiricamente em alguns contextos, como inclusive no sul de Moçambique, isso não significa que as pessoas não possam mudar. As sociedades são dinâmicas e se transformam. Por que seria diferente em África? Existem sujeitos queer africanos, existem moçambicanos gays, lésbicas, bissexuais e trans, e alguns deles se sentem contemplados por uma política da identidade. Muitos dos meus interlocutores se sentiram assim, e é preciso incluí-los de forma positiva na sociedade nacional moçambicana, que se pretende moderna, democrática e com oportunidade de desenvolvimento para todos e todas. Esse me parece um dos grandes atuais dilemas e desafios do movimento queer em Moçambique, em África. Com isso, eu encerro minha apresentação e agradeço a todos e todas que me ouviram.
Muito obrigada, Francisco, Thuli e Alex, pelas intervenções. Antes mesmo de eu abrir o microfone para a plateia, eu vou perguntar a algum dos oradores se tem alguma questão para um dos colegas. Alex, do you have a question for any of your colleagues?
It's coming.
It's coming, okay. Francisco, Thuli?
Por enquanto, não.
Thanks.
Thank you. Então, agora sim, porque viemos aqui para conversar, eu vou convidar a plateia, se alguém tem alguma questão pode levantar a mão. Uma questão, um comentário, um desabafo, uma frustração.
Boa noite a todas e todos. Eu chamo Selma, mas yes.
Expose yourself.
Boa noite a todas e todos. Eu chamo Selma, mas antes de colocar as minhas questões, eu queria, perguntar. Eu faço, por exemplo, uma questão para todos os oradores. Ou... Ok. So I will ask them in English if that's okay. So for Thuli, first, thank you, Thuli, for the wonderful presentation. I really appreciate that the event started by touching on religion and spirituality. And sort of the context to my question, which is twofold, I feel that whenever we talk about decolonization in the African continent, because we understand that religion as we experience it today came on a boat, the consequence of looking into pre-colonial history is to reject religion and spirituality. So I appreciate that we have in this event a perspective of someone that is really looking into LGBTIQ and the role of spirituality in Africa, which precedes colonization. So my question is, I would like to hear a little bit more about her work and experience. What new paths are opening up when we center spirituality? So when we consider that the history of our continent is very much rooted in spirituality. What can we discover? And what kind of interventions are open to us when we think about the role of queer people in their communities through spirituality? But at the same time, what are we currently losing whenever we, by virtue of rejecting Christianity, end up rejecting spirituality as a whole? My question for Alex. Alex, thank you so much for your intervention. I really appreciated it because I felt it was very heartfelt. And I think you very successfully managed to bring the experience of your own geographical context, but it was easy for me to relate to what I'm experiencing. So my question has to do with that, with migration and the space that queer people occupy. I heard in your brief biography that you were born in Lebanon and you studied in France and you have performed in different spaces. And you mentioned something that really touched me, that queer people have two options: to defy and to, to come out. I think that's defy or come out. My question is also twofold. First, is there a third option? Do you want to think of a third option? But secondly is, how have you or your friends, people that you know, how do queer people experience life in different geographical contexts? In Mozambique, do you have to come out? I'm sure it's different in Berlin. I'm sure it's different in Japan. So what can that tell us from existing as a queer person? Do you always have to defy? Do you always have to come out? That's sort of my question. And then for Francisco, I will speak in Portuguese. Francisco, também estou muito grata pela tua colocação e principalmente também poder ouvir um pouco mais sobre a academia. Eu também fiz pesquisa sobre descolonização e lutei muito por causa de metodologias, então minha pergunta é mesmo relacionada com isso. Então eu queria perguntar, na antropologia e na academia, o que é que significa exatamente prática homossexual? E o que é que seria o oposto alternativo disto? Por exemplo, vivência homossexual. O que é que os antropólogos descrevem como prática? Quando vem cá para a África, um antropólogo alemão ou Dutch, e que procura documentar e registrar práticas homossexuais, o que essa pessoa procura realmente? E, portanto, não encontrando este vestígio de prática homossexual, que tipo de conclusões essa pessoa pode tirar? Porque a minha opinião é que aqui na África, como em qualquer outra sociedade, né, que não seja o Western World, I imagine, aquilo que nós procuramos como registro ou como prova de homossexualidade não é equivalente àquilo que nós vemos nos outros países. Então, onde eu estou a querer chegar é: what are we losing by using this quote-unquote objective academic methodology? Because in what researchers cannot find and pinpoint, unfortunately, they end up making conclusions that are not always true to the vivência, to how people actually live. So those are my questions. Obrigada.
Thank you, Selma. So I think we can listen to some of the responses. I'll invite Thuli to be the first one, and then Alex, and then Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Selma. Those were amazing questions. So I'm just going to break them into the three in how you asked them. So what new pathways that open up when we center spirituality? I think from my experience is that when we center spirituality, we move beyond existing binaries of bodies. And we have a space where we see the person in their whole being, and it's more of an affirming space. It's more of an accepting space. Often with religion, you find that people's understandings of bodies is along that cis heteronormative understanding or binary. And there is this one author that I was reading about, when we're looking at the creation story. So God created land and sea. But then we also have places that are like mangroves and marshes, where you have beautiful trees and plant life, and you have these exotic frogs and plants that are just growing from that middle sector. We look at, yes, the Lord created heaven and, earth, but often a lot of us love having picnics to watch the sunset or to watch, the sunrise, that middle time where there's absolute beauty. And the author says, if we are able to celebrate that splendor in that in-betweenness when we're looking at creation, why is it hard for people to understand that there can be people who are not just, man and woman, but there are people who exist along that binary. And within that binary are those people who are creative, who are beautiful, who have gifts that are life-affirming. But because we do not want to recognize, we do not want to give people those platforms, we lose out on the gifts that they have. When we look at what, and that is one of the, it's also answering your question on what can we discover. What are we losing by rejecting spirituality? So unfortunately, in centering rules, and these are rules on ethics in terms of what is a sin, what is not a sin, what is the right way to dress, should a woman cover up or not cover up? We're getting so stuck in policing people's lives instead of living life in how and what was in a number of prophets spoke about. It's about service. If you're a person who follows Islam, by being of service to others, so too you shall be rewarded. It's about loving your neighbor. If you follow Christian faith. So when Jesus said, love thy neighbor, he didn't say, love your tall, blonde, blue-eyed neighbor, but reject your short, fat, brown-haired neighbor. Like, there wasn't a distinction. It's a love thy neighbor. Yes, you may dislike them because they have a dog that barks until the early hours, or they have a kid that screams, but it doesn't mean that now you must take it upon yourself to kill. I think spirituality as well becomes a space where we can connect and actually rewrite and produce new knowledge. So if we're looking in terms of, and you spoke about the process of decolonizing in Africa, there's that opportunity for us to create our own knowledge in writing and capturing our own stories that are not just limited to how we define is the scientific way of knowledge gathering and the only right way of knowledge production. When we are able to source stories, we're able to learn more. So if I can just quickly share, when I never came out, but I was outed by a partner that I'd broken up with. And my mom's first response was, oh my gosh, my child is this way. So she called a family meeting, and my grands and my aunts and the whole matriarchy gathered together, and I was called to this meeting, and I sat there in the corner because, now I'm this person who's now sinned against the family. And my mom's like, oh, my daughter has come out as this. And my grand's response was, oh, but we know that, we've been living with this in our village. So-and-so, the one who never got married, she never got married because she has a relationship with other women. In that house, Mr. So-and-so, his house is not part of the family houses, but his house is built slightly closer to the road. So he has that privacy to bring in boys because everybody knows that he sleeps with men. So in that moment where for my mom, she was wanting that space for waiting for my families to tell me, I'm wrong and I need to be corrected. It became a space of learning, because then we discovered stories and narratives that we didn't know about, that my mom was not exposed to because she's always been cis-het in her relationships, but she only got to discover the queer stories. She only discovered the, the activities young boys were participating, which were more around sexual play, that are often only shared by certain people, or tales around same-sex activity that are only shared by certain women, but not exposed to everyone. So yeah, I just wanted to share that it's when we move beyond a religion that wants to police and sanction people around their community value and ethics, and actually just come to the root of love and service, which is what spirituality offers. It offers that space of being creative, of embrace, of creativity without limiting it to how to perform gender performity and expression. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I don't know if I remember the whole question, but I'm gonna answer what stayed with me. First of all, I never do parts, my activism and my artwork, my creations, and I would love one day to dance for all of you. Hopefully you'll know who I am more than I talk to you, that's for sure. When I dance, like for example, because I'm known not to take funding from, I don't take funding. I try to find my new ways to do, because I don't want to be, devoir quoi que ce soit à qui que ce soit. I don't want anybody to own anything on me. I sold my car to produce a show, and I started to work in the city, to walk in the city. And each time I would walk, I would be insulted. Like insulted from, it went from faggot to hope you die. I'm not gonna tell you that, that's not interesting, but it started to be too much. So what I was living in the street started to be a process in my creation. So each time I would be insulted in the street, I would write it down. I have a small, and I write it down. For a year, I was insulted quite a lot. So I gave all the insults to a singer, and I put it on alternative music. And I danced 15 minutes on it as an opening of my show. And it was for me an act of defiance. You look at me, I have long hair, I put makeup, I have a dress on. You see, oh, look at that disgusting faggot. And all of a sudden you'll have in the music, disgusting faggot. And so actually, I gave society or audience, you don't need to insult me. I'll put it for you. So those are my ways. And I do believe, Salma, your name is Arabic. And I do believe that we, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that, but I really do believe that there are some generations that of us that need to sacrifice. Because, unfortunately, because, and I can show you the traces of the memory of my body has, but when I did my coming out, and we did the first ever in the country, because we had a friend that he was a stunning drag queen, that this Thuli, my interest Thuli, he was a stunning drag queen, but psychologically he didn't have neither support from the community, which I have a big issue with, because trans and transvestite, well, I don't know, I have so much to say, so bear with me and follow. We have a major issue that we never talk about. I'm sorry to talk about, I need to talk about. There is femphobia in our and lesbophobia in our community and transophobia in our community. So before we start pointing out straight people, let's see how we are dealing with each other. I have this, I don't like to remember this, but I had this stunning lady boy that didn't have any support from the community, didn't have any support from the family. Who supported him? Catholic Church. He took off his filler, he took off his the Botox, he cut his hair, her hair. He started to go by he, and we lost one of the most beautiful lady boys that we have. This is why I'm talking about defiance, because we need to be out there. You need to see me. You need to see me. If you don't see me, if I stay in my safe space, if I stay gathered in a small house while the 3, 4, 5 of us, we need to be seen, respected, and celebrated.
Thank you so much, Alex. Francisco, are you there?
Sim. Queria agradecer a Selma. Excelente pergunta, Selma. Vou tentar responder, então, as duas. Bom, primeiro, o que
Francisco,
os antropólogos...
desculpa, podes recomeçar? Estava mudo o microfone.
Estou mudo ainda?
Agora não.
Ok. Bom, então, queria novamente agradecer, Selma, pelas excelentes perguntas. E vou começar pela primeira. O que os antropólogos definem como práticas homossexuais? Bom, primeiro que existe um grande debate, de fato, sobre o que são práticas homossexuais. E a antropologia buscou demonstrar o que diferentes culturas entendiam como práticas sexuais. Então, tem uma grande discussão sobre isso. Então, eu queria citar pelo menos 2 antropólogos moçambicanos, meus amigos, inclusive, como qualquer outra narrativa...
Okay.
Me ouve?
Sim, agora sim.
Ok. Bom, e a segunda pergunta é sobre o que se perde
não,
com
a primeira
as metodologias
ainda.
científicas. Como eu estava dizendo, eu acho que toda a narrativa ela tem uma parcialidade, uma posicionalidade, e com a narrativa científica também existe isso. Então, é claro que quando a gente tem um olhar científico sobre qualquer assunto, a gente traz, junto com isso, todas as nossas concepções, e dentro da antropologia, o que a gente busca fazer ao máximo é perceber o ponto de vista daqueles com quem a gente conversa. E aí essas duas perguntas me trazem para uma questão que eu acho bastante interessante, sobre o que a gente perde ou o que a gente ganha, e sobre a relatividade da noção de práticas homossexuais. Então, vou trazer um dado da minha pesquisa que eu acho bastante interessante, tem a ver com os relacionamentos muito comuns desde o período colonial em Moçambique, de apadrinhamento, em que uma pessoa mais velha, geralmente um homem mais velho, adota, entre aspas, um jovem mais novo, não necessariamente uma criança, mas um rapaz mais novo, para morar com ele e ser uma espécie de garoto de recados, etc. Isso foi contado a mim como uma relação de um apadrinhamento, a princípio. E aí, quando eu entrevistei algumas pessoas, alguns cotas mais velhos, eles me disseram que moraram com pessoas durante longos períodos de suas vidas, nesse esquema, 2 homens morando juntos em Maputo, desde Lourenço Marques até Maputo, e que isso sempre foi entendido pela maioria das pessoas como uma relação de apadrinhamento, como estou dando uma ajuda a esse menino, enfim. E é só quando a gente entrevista essas pessoas que participaram desses relacionamentos é que a gente descobre que tinha afeto, tinha relações sexuais entre essas pessoas, que tinha uma construção de família com essas pessoas. Mas, no geral, a sociedade mais ampla não percebia essas relações como relações homossexuais. Então, é bastante interessante, porque eu acho que O que a gente entende por relações homossexuais, ela pode variar não só da perspectiva dos antropólogos, mas dos próprios interlocutores nossos. Então, na sociedade moçambicana, muitos interlocutores meus falavam que não percebiam essas relações como relações homossexuais. Outras, já que viveram essas relações, identificavam essas relações como relações homossexuais, quando o resto da sociedade toda estava vendo um outro tipo de relação. Então, adorei essas perguntas, eu acho que faz a gente pensar e são bastante importantes. Obrigado.
Obrigada, Francisco. Apesar dos cortes, dos desafios da internet, conseguimos perceber. Há mais alguma questão na plateia? Francisco, podes repetir a primeira parte da tua resposta?
Posso.
E estava já a citar 2 antropólogos moçambicanos quando nós paramos de te ouvir.
Ah, que pena. Não, então tem que citar de novo. Bom, eu estava dizendo sobre a diferença das... Existem antropólogos moçambicanos também que já estão trabalhando com esse tema há bastante tempo. 2 deles que são meus amigos são Nelson Mugabe, que estava até aqui com a gente, pelo menos online até há pouco tempo, e a Judith Chipeneng. Então, os 2 são pesquisadores com excelentes trabalhos sobre a questão homossexual e por diferentes abordagens, diferentes perspectivas, diferentes engajamentos teóricos, e que vale a pena todos e todas conhecerem os trabalhos desses colegas também.
Sim, obrigada. Não havendo questões, eu vou aproveitar que eu tenho o microfone na mão, então, para fazer algumas questões. Alex, I'll speak in English. I would like to know how the community organizing and resisting in a MENA region in a state of constant surveillance.
First of all, we started connecting, it was an obvious need in all of the community, a bit spread in all the region. We felt the need to connect with each other. Lebanon was the first to have an association. So what we did is that we started to invite people from Egypt, from Tunisia, from Morocco, from Algeria to Lebanon, and to start to form them on how you look. I'm gonna go very basic. How you write a proposal, how you, what are your needs, how you go to the ground, what are the needs, what do you need? Do you need HIV medicine? Do you need for trans people specific, is there specific needs? Because, or you want to be all the time doing parties? What is our main priority? Is it giving, and because, you know, the major issue is that when you come out, not all the reactions are like the family of Thuli. In our region, you come out, you end up in the street. So you have to find safe houses to, at least when there is this small young teenager that gets kicked out of his house because either he dies or his brother or anyone of uncle might kill him. So we started to prepare for safe houses in order to, because listen, it all started after the war, because we had a long civil war, and after it, the violence was so high that it was an obligation to organize. It all started from that, but when we officially launched the association, and it was, you always need to play cat and mouse with authorities. In what sense? Let's say I present, because you have to present your papers for the government, for the Ministry of Social Affairs and I don't know what, and they will tell you if they give you the authorization to create an association. So you wait. If you have a no, it's a no. If you have a yes, it's a yes. But if you don't have any response, after 10 months, it's yes. So this is how we made it. We never got really officially recognized, but the law permits that after 10 months, you have to give either yes, either no. You didn't have, either, I think they were so dumb, the authorities, that they don't know the law. Simply, they got an association, an LGBT association in front of them. I said, to the rubbish, clack. And actually we got it this way. So this is how it all started. And then we were able to bring funding and start to, Tunisia, they had the first, Egypt also, and in Palestine, we have connections that started to go beyond only to create association, but to start to, if there is, like, for example, in Egypt, when the authorities crack down, you disappear simply. So you need to have lawyers in Egypt that they will go in jails in order to assess the numbers. And you have groundwork that needs to be done, because we are talking about no information and total darkness about what happens when our community gets targeted in the region. So this is how it all started, but unfortunately we are going backwards now, because was after the revolutions that happened in North Africa and the total failure of the state, unfortunately, crackdown are very harsh and extremely utilized in the media in order to present the authorities as if they are doing something. So we became from on the two, the target, double target locally of why, because we are trying to help each other. And we have some money from European Union, let's say, and we become traitors to the nation, because we are preparing and actively working on a how do you say, foreign agenda on the ground. So we are not being, nobody is there's a proverb that says, it is different when you count the blows from the one who is receiving them. So there are blows that are being counted, but we are breaking down nowadays, because they were able in Egypt to break all the work we've done. Lebanon was this last minister of interior. But this is why I told you, you know, we talked a lot that it is important to rethink our struggle. Do we have all the time to have this connection to Europe? Do we have all the time to think with Europeans, through Europeans, with the gaze and the money? Can I talk to a Mozambican and say, hey, how are you doing here? Can we find ways? Because I understand you, you understand me. We don't need to give a lot of paperwork and I don't know what. Can we rethink our the funding system for sure, but our reality on the ground? Because if funding starts to be a possibility for us to go in jail, okay, let's rethink that. It's not about the money, it's about, am I going to arrive to what I want? What I want is I want to live without knowing that anytime they're going to catch me and say, okay, 1 year imprisonment just because your work is not that interesting. You are not man enough. So my target now is to decriminalize homosexuality, but there is another thing. I did the work with several others, and we arrived to this point because we were in a closed community. We were afraid. We were targeted all the time. There was all the time violence. So we really got off the radar in all the MENA region. We got off the radar till we arrived to a point and we noticed that we are not achieving anything hiding. If I want to gain respect, I don't need somebody like me to respect me. If I want respect, I'm gonna go to a straight bar, have a drink, be respectful of who I am, and let them get used to my presence. And this is what we are doing now. We changed our strategy. We, femme queens, because unfortunately, the straight-looking, straight-acting butch men don't have any problem, because nobody he has muscles, a beard, very man, so nobody would know. But me, but the thing that they didn't know, that those who are making society evolve are those who do not hide, are those who make others see them and get others to get acquainted, habitué, used to the presence in society. The more we hide, the less we are efficient. This is the last achievement we have. Really.
Thank you, Alex. Mais alguém na plateia que queira colocar alguma questão, algum comentário?
Good evening. My name is Stefano. I just wanted to put quick comments. One is about what is the problem with them? You were saying, Alex, in the beginning, no? I think the big problem is always that you are a threat. So when you come out and you say, like also Miguel said a lot of times, when you say things explicitly, when you say now we have a new identity, we can say something, we can say who we are, etc., then you are a threat, because then freedom is allowed. So freedom to be what we are. So change of the whole infrastructure, the whole system of what we think. So our certainties are shaken, and that is the obvious problem with them. And then why they pursue, why 300 people run after some? I think unfortunately it's because we as masses, we all need to unburden. To violence is just a need, one of the basic needs. We need to unburden, no, and have violence on somebody, who the weakest and the ones who are possible to see as a threat again. The Jewish people were something in a certain point of history, while before they were wonderful and later were wonderful, but in that moment they were not. In my country, which I will not mention,
mention.
No, it doesn't matter. But there was.
I know. I understood you. You can mention.
My accent is easy to understand. But there was a problem with people from the south. They were dirty and bad. Then the same political parties went to the south and said, no, we have something against the immigrants, the ones coming with the boats to our wonderful country. And so they got a lot of votes from the southern people who were the dirty ones, the bad ones. But now the hatred and the unburdening was against some other ones. And then there is the gay and the LGBT whole community, because of their desire of being seen, identified, and proudly so. And that's a big problem. So there is not only in my country, but Europe and more, there is this, they say that there is the gender theory, which doesn't exist at all. They say that it exists, or you want to affirm that gender is okay. I mean, that you can have any identity. So you want to put into the children's minds these strange ideas, you know, because in a book for the primary school, you say that, yeah, they exist. Homosexuals exist. Oh, what a crazy thing. So you want to put in their minds that it is okay. Yes, we want to put in their mind that it is okay. And it's not that the end of the world. I stay, I stand, I'm not being hit because somebody is homosexual around me, you know, but for some people, the system, everything is shaking. So the need for hating some minority, rigorously a minority, not a majority. You have to hate some minority, of course, identifiable, they can be blamed for everything, and so on and so on. Unfortunately, this will go on forever, but just to conclude, one thing, I love the Nigerian writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She had that wonderful speech about why we should all be feminist. And when I heard that, actually, I was already a feminist, so it doesn't matter. But actually, I was convinced that a practice which I don't like at all, which is the gay pride parade. I don't like them. I don't like
Zoo.
them. Okay, but exactly. But don't like. But I was convinced by her speech, which had nothing to do with gay. But I was convinced that we need them until there is some idiot who wants to discriminate LGBT people. Then we need, unfortunately, even that way of celebrating identities and ways to be and taste, or freedom of taste and change of taste from a day to another. So I wanted to say that you're right to say we have to continue, and somebody has to be sacrificed. Some generations has to be sacrificed. You said some young generations, like the ANC first generation were sacrificed, and they continued until something happened one day, and in South Africa they had the sort of freedom and equality that they have now. I have a lot to say, but I will finish here. Thank you.
Can I say something very short? Two things. First of all, yes, we face, and we defy, but there is something I work a lot on, is the hypocrisy of Arabs. For me, Arab people do a lot of shit hidden. And my public, when I go on stage full drag, are essentially homophobes, people that don't like men with long hair, with makeup and dress, and they love me. So what's interesting here is that the more you are a threat, the more you fascinate. And we can use this power of fascination, because everybody understood that we are the one who have the nightlife. If you want to entertain, they like us to entertain them, but they don't accept us in daily life. So we have a lot of power in our hands too. We need to see it. Not only say, oh, but I got beaten, and no, we have power, and a lot of power. Last thing concerning the gay prides. Gay prides were political manifestations, rights demanding. It became a marketing. It's different from, yeah, we need them. We don't need to keep on putting next to the community the party flag. It's good to party. It's nice to self-celebrate and enjoy our times, but we don't have our rights yet to be that happy.
Thank you. Estou certa que ficaram ainda muitas coisas por dizer. Infelizmente, o tempo é curto. Em nome do MFF, quero agradecer a todos pela presença, agradecer aos nossos convidados. Thank you very much for sharing your experience and your knowledge. Vamos continuar por aqui. O Alex está aqui, vamos continuar a conversar. Thuli e Francisco, vocês podem pesquisar e procurá-los na internet, certamente eles estarão disponíveis para outros encontros, quem sabe, para virem a Moçambique, por que não? Vamos servir agora um cocktail e é isso, continuamos a conversar, mas agora sem os microfones. Muito obrigada. Like you're sharing the question on point. Yes. I just think it was important to
Bye, everyone.